And I guess that's something we haven't really talked about. There's no Covenant to get for player power. There's no bing bing wahoo neck piece or Azerite gear or artifacts.
That we know of.
Yeah. It seems like their whole focus here is, you get 1 talent point for every level. At level 70, you'll have 70 talent points. Go spend them. And it's like, that seems more alt-friendly. Getting you alt to 70, config it, put some, get it some gear. Yeah. Now it's useful.
I guess that's where when you get into the nitty gritty, that's where like I'd love to just sit down and okay, well let's literally get all these questions answered before we drum up false hype or be cynical for no reason. Because it's like, okay, here's your dragon riding. What does that mean for alts? Does that mean you have to level up all your alts dragon riding skills individually? Is that content or is that a system? That's the kind of thing. It's like that's kind of the questions where that boils down to how they execute, and that's unfortunately not something we can really talk about until beta happens and we get our hands on this and then go right. Well, here's how feedback works. Here's what we think. Here's what you should do for this, and kind of narrow that stuff out.
Vanilla also pointing out the profession rework is a very evergreen feature.
Oh yeah, that's exactly the thing where both like I imagine they'll keep dragon riding in the future if it works out well. But profession revamp and a new type of combat, and also technically a new class, a new race, those are all features that will live in World of Warcraft forever. The content in I've completely forgot the name of the expansion for a second. Dragonflight, the content in Dragonflight won't be evergreen in terms of like leveling and stories and things like that. But all of this work they are doing will, which is more forethought than they had with Covenants and thing. Obviously Covenant abilities and stuff. Some of them will live because we saw Convoke. In thing, and I think J.B tweeted, no, please. But fuck you, Convoke's good. Sorry, fuck you, Convoke is fun. I enjoy it. So I think there's room for that. So it's kind of some of the borrow power stuff's already creeping its head in, but at least
there's totally got some in this shot. Some of some of the Return of the King, right?
Yeah, I was about to say big Lord of the Ring vibes.
With Shimmy, hey, that's fun. Roar. Yeah, evergreen stuff that actually builds the game out. That's like it's about time. Yeah. About time. It's funny, how much work do they put into all of this? That the Shadowlands equivalent of that work dies with Shadowlands. Because I guess it is true that unlocking all those Covenant stuff that'll all be in the game. But just a lot of the legendaries and the stuff that they made, it's like that's so much design time that just went out of classes and into a thing we're going to throw in the bin eventually.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, has that amount of design time just went into the new class, went into the existing classes? Because I imagine we're all going to get a lot of changes. It's not like they're going to port us, or at least I think anyway. It's going to be hard enough to just port what you have right now directly into the new talent system.
That will be difficult. Well, like there's certain classes that'll be just free as hell. Like Druid is free as hell for that. Not linearly, but in a bunch of ways. But there's other classes like, what do you do with, especially classes that are fairly simple? It's like, what do you do with a mage? What does the Frost Mage talent tree look like? And then you think, oh, well, I guess because they've got so few tools to work with, then you might start to see like more interesting Glacial Spike stuff, more interesting Frozen Orb stuff. And then obviously you think of mage and you go, okay, well, you've got that massive history of what mages can do. Obviously specifically in like PvP and stuff like that. But you've got that, you like imagine what the class tree looks like for a mage, and you've got loads of ideas immediately. You've got all the barriers, you've got Time Warp, you've got Blink, you've got Shimmer, you've got Conjuring stuff. You've got so much of like mage history there. I mean, Demon Hunters might struggle a little bit there, but like the classes that have loads of history will have great class spec trees, they should. Obviously I can't say what Blizzard have done with them because I haven't seen. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of Dominicus, there's one class tree and one spec tree, so you have access to both and fill them out. So you have a class tree that's like for your utility and your like kind of not your core spec, and then you've got one for your spec as well. So you're going through both at the same time, which means you don't have to worry about it anymore. Which is the problem with the old system was you put so much of your points into your actual spec that you only had like 14, 21, whatever expansion you're playing to go into the other side. And I was like, okay, there was some meaningful choice in there in terms of like druids going into a little bit into, for Furor and the Resto tree for like transformation stuff like that. But generally, it's like this system seems to has potential at least. Hold the button, a feature for all classes. So we don't know. The only confirmation is that the Evoker has that. We don't actually know if any of the other classes do. But I feel like it would be really, really bad if they didn't. It would be really, really bad if they went, here's the new class with the new button that's really, or the new feature for gameplay that's really fun and exciting. Fuck everyone else. Then everyone would re-roll to drag their Evoker and everything would be gone. That would kind of be the problem there. So it's also like you can think of stuff that would work. Like, remember that slam used to be a cast time? Now, if you slam and you hold slam, the warrior's going like this, holding it back a little bit further, and then you let go, bang, big damage. That's the kind of thing. If that's like interesting filler, or even just party rotation, that could be fun. Same with aim shot for hunters. Hold aim shot, hold, and you let go for the big damage. Stuff like that's really fun. How will Evoker work with old expansions? To just work. You won't have to level in them, but it'll just play. So yeah, that's the stuff. I think there's a load of potential in this, to be honest with you. But yeah, not every class, but I imagine Fire Mage and Warrior. Yeah, that's another example where, not sure about I-Beam, Demon Hunter, but like Pyroblast that you hold. And now this is where it's a problem that World of Warcraft is on keyboard, because I'm trying to think. Actually, I was playing a little bit of Horizon Forbidden West yesterday, and the sheer amount of feeling you get from the adaptive triggers on PS5 from your controller vibrating based on pressing buttons, it makes the game so much more interesting. And I think that's one of the things they're trying to get at here. Obviously, with no controller, it's not going to work. But I would believe the new hold the button mechanic won't root you in place. That's a good point, actually. It would be very, very good if they didn't hold you in place, because you can very much imagine the idea of just, hold button, there you go. But imagine hold and 80% move speed, 50% move speed, something like that. Would actually genuinely be really interesting. Channel skills with the perfect zone. Channeled, maybe not so much, but I could see them kind of working that for channeled as well, where it casts while you hold it. That would certainly be interesting for arcane missiles rather than, arcane missiles. It'd be a lot more interesting, I think. I think that'll be way, way better. Yeah, WoW has been great for mobility and combat. Hopefully that does make it better. But yeah, no, I imagine that feature will be really, really nice generally. Pray return to the waking shores. I assume that was not intentional. I'm sure that was not intentional. Paladin standing there chanting gets louder and louder. See, that's the stuff that's really cool. You can start to, once you start to imagine all of the different kind of gameplay stuff that you're not even just gameplay, like physical button stuff, but holding that. It's so much stronger. Timed blocking. Oh no. That's the thing where you can see how this kind of steps it down the path to be, hey, maybe World of Warcraft will be a lot more actiony than before, but I can't imagine that. I definitely can't imagine that. Dark on Man, I don't think they're needed for every spec. Yeah, that's the thing where I feel like it's especially for older classes, I imagine they'll do things like put it on talent ability. Like, as an example, think Glacial Spike. Glacial Spike is almost certainly like a button that would work really well for that hold, because you can even, if I remember, the animation even has it a little bit shaking. That would feel really nice to, you're holding the button while you do that. And then maybe even you release it, the longer you hold it, the more icicles it brings in. So you can fire off a quick Glacial Spike, or you can make a massive one, something like that. Do you feel there's any red flags thus far? No, it's hard to say, because the only red flags I really feel are, I guess, the stuff they didn't talk about. That feels like it could be a little bit of a red flag. Just, we haven't talked about this system, which means we have nothing good to announce. But it could also mean we're not going to talk about it yet. I think that's completely fair. Yeah, the new class is Healer and Range DPS, which is interesting, but I guess they don't want to. I suppose with tanks, I think they have more problems with tanks in terms of how many of them are actually good and how many of them are flavor of the month. So I think they're kind of maybe trying to resolve that. But also there's something else with, with the fact that it doesn't have the Earth Warder stuff. It doesn't have the Black Dragonflight magic at all. So I feel like there's going to be a fairly major lore reason for that. Or maybe they just didn't want to make it. Same with Demon Hunter. Maybe they went, 2's enough. That's all. And yeah, Shanna, no mention of any endgame systems. I think that's great. I think it is fantastic to not hear any of that, because that's the stuff that I think players care about the least. And if they're not talking about it, that means they know that, which I think to some can come across as there's no changes, so it's just going to be the same old shit. But just that case of, yeah, this is the stuff. I think the philosophy of design and development for World of Warcraft is definitely improved on this front. I mean, I think that'll probably feel bad for like a lot of super core players, but if it does feel bad for core players, then I think that's a small thing to lose for players who falling out of love with the game to actually play it and have some fucking fun for a change, instead of, sorry, you're not sweaty enough to play.
It's something terrifying. Walked in there, bam, your face is on the TV.
Oh dear.
Turns out the whole team was watching our whole live stream through that wall on the TV.
Nice. Good.
Very good. Okay, no, checked in. Jared's
Yep.
actually seeming pretty pumped about things. So
Yep.
good fun. Colin's working in clips, and it would be handy if he could have access to the stuff for the deep dive.
Okay.
Or
Right.
some of the post deep dive. But anyway.
Okay. Well, if
That's
you,
the updates from the team.
Yep.